Hey guys, Dallas Henry here, RV Wholesalers. I'm here today with Caden Downey. He's one of our sales reps. Today we are going to go over a pretty hot topic in the RV industry right now, and kind of has been for quite a while. It's why should I finance my RV? Okay, so there's a lot of people out there ask that question. There's a lot of misinformation out there about it. So we want to kind of clear a lot of that up. I know Caden, as a sales rep, hears a lot of customers, that ask whether they should finance, or they say they're not going to, or they are, or they're kind of polarized in one direction. Is that kind of what you're hearing, Caden? A lot of customers.
Yeah, especially nowadays, there's a lot of questions on, which is the better route. And I think, especially Dallas and Kelly is another one of our finance managers. They're really good at clearing up kind of the best route to save you guys the most money and be as upfront, honest with you as we can be through the whole process. So,
Right on, right on. So one of the first questions we got was finances versus paying cash. Which one is better? Okay. Now, to understand that question, you got to understand what's happening kind of after the fact, or behind the scenes, I should say. So the biggest thing that most people don't understand, and some people do, but a lot of people don't, is that when you go in to buy anything, okay, whether it's a car, it's a boat, it's a camper, it's any type of large retail purchase, and you finance through that dealership, it means you do a credit application at the dealership with the dealership, and they find you a financial institution to finance through. That dealer's getting paid, okay, and no way around it. They are getting paid. Whether they tell you about it or not, that's kind of up to them. There's very few that actually do. We are one of them that does, and we'll kind of lead into that and explain to you that we do get paid, okay, and we're giving that to you as a customer as a discount. So the biggest thing is finances versus paying cash. Which one is better? If you understand that you can finance, you can pay cash, and there's incentives for one or the other, what you find is through a dealer like us, it's always better to finance. Okay, Caden, out of majority of your customers, I mean, do you have any customers outside of ones that can't get financed? Do you have any of them that don't?
no, I mean, as far as the way we present everything and kind of, once again, we're just upfront about everything. And once we are able to explain it to them, it's really a no-brainer with what we offer. And 99% of our customers will end up going with the route that we suggest because it just helps them out in the long run so much.
Right. You kind of got to understand the rules behind it. And we not only offer the finance discount, but we explain to you the rules behind it. Basically that you got to keep the loan open a year. Okay. That's what we ask you. Keep the loan open a year. Now, are there people that come in, because you'll hear the term cash is king all the time. You hear that from time to time, and that used to, ring a lot more years ago, but you do hear that still. Cash is still king ultimately, but the one who has the cash can control the situation. Okay. Now, what we see is that customers will come in and say, no, I want to pay cash for this camper. I got $40,000, whatever it is. And what we explain to them is this: listen, if you do this the right way, it would never make sense to pay cash. Okay. And the reason we do that is because all you got to do is keep the loan open a year. It doesn't mean that you have to keep a big balance on the loan, right? You just got to keep the loan open a year. So what we explain to them is, on your first payment, okay, if you want to pay off everything on the loan, go right ahead. You're more than welcome to. Okay. Now, there are certain situations where your money's in other areas. Don't pull it out if it's working for you. You're better off doing, leaving your money in the market if that's where it's at. But if you've just got a pile of cash sitting right in front of you, and you want to pay cash for a camper, the way to do it: finance the camper, get the finance discount like you would do through us, and then you can pay almost all of it off on the first payment. Basically, all you want to do is leave 11 payments left in there for the 1 year. I've heard Caden explain this to customers many, many times. And really, that's just us looking out for the customer, saying, why wouldn't you let the bank buy part of your camper? I know I've heard him say that many times. So that's one thing, is to understand, is just to keep the loan open a year. That's all we ask, is that you keep the loan open a year. At the end of the 1 year, if you want to pay it off completely, you're more than welcome. And generally what you find is the amount you're paying in interest, if you do it that way, because these are simple interest loans, you're going to spend a fraction of the interest versus what you actually get in a discount. And that's not to mention the tax credit on the discount there too, because that comes off before the tax line, so you're getting some net benefit there as well. So that's kind of one of the things that we talk about. So one big thing that we talk about is how the banks pay us. Okay. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of people don't realize that dealers get paid by the banks by doing. And the way we've always looked at it is that's your money. It's not our money. I'm not the one financing through the bank. You are, the customer is. So that's one thing we stress to people is, again, we're just doing the right thing. We're giving you the money that you should be getting anyway. And then, obviously you get the camper for a little cheaper. Honesty is always the best policy in that situation. Kate, anything you would add to that?
I think you pretty much hit every point. I mean, like I said before, we're just the way we do business here. We're ultimately trying to help you throughout the wholesale. We'll never do anything that's going to hurt you. That's a big thing with buying from us here at RV Wholesalers, and that's what our goal is. So
yeah, no, definitely, and I think that, and listen, we always, this is something we always say, we want you to buy the camper from us, obviously. Okay, we would be silly if we didn't, and we want to be get every customer that we can, but we also are realistic and understand that we can't sell every camper on the market. So we put this stuff out there so people understand, so people get an idea of what they need to ask, what they need to do when they walk into a dealership, the things that need to happen when they do that. So one of the biggest things that we tell people is when you walk into the dealership, go in, do everything you need to do, make sure you're getting the best price, make sure you get everything in writing up front, but then ask them, how, if I finance through you, how much will I get by going through one of your banks? Okay, so that's one thing we want to make sure of, is that when you guys go out there, if you don't come to us, obviously come to us, if you can, if it's possible for you. But if you can't, understand the ways you can safely navigate that situation, especially on the finance side of things. Make sure you're getting that money, or at least a piece of it. I mean, if you're not getting, at least 2% of the amount financed, in many cases it's more. If you're not getting at least 2%, that dealer's holding something back, just so you know. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Looks like we got, let's see here. All right, got a couple questions here. If you guys kind of chime in too, anybody that's watching, let us know where you're from. Let us know any questions that you have. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions you guys have, any more specific ones about kind of what we're talking about here. Should I finance my camper? Should I pay cash? Things like that. Again, I go back to the whole, cash is king thing. You hear that a lot. And again, I explain that you still have the ability to pay cash. You're just handing the money to a different entity. That's all you're doing, okay? And you're saving money by doing that. Now, I actually got asked by a customer this the other day, and this was kind of interesting. Customer had asked me, they said, now why would a bank do this? Why would a bank hand the dealership a pile of money when a customer goes through them? Well, ultimately, they call it a dealer reserve, dealer participation, finder's fee, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of different names for it. And honestly, in our industry, it's kind of taboo to talk about it, because most dealers don't want you to know that exists. But the reality is the bank looks at all of us, me included, as a number on a paper. They don't know that we exist, okay? So that customer had asked me, they said, why would the bank do this? Why would the bank give you $4,000 or whatever the discount on that particular one was for me to finance to when I'm just going to pay it off in a year, and they're not going to get all that interest. Well, the reality is that most people, they're not paying it off in a year. Most people are not. Even some of the ones that say they are, that they don't end up doing that. Because what they find out is it's better to have this pile of money sitting here and pay a little interest on it if I ever need it. I'd rather have that than I would, a paid off piece of collateral. Again, and the camper's like a lot of other things, it's a depreciating asset. Okay. So what I explained to him was, the bank looks at us as numbers, okay, on a piece of paper. And what they see is that when 95% of the people out there are keeping their loan for 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, sometimes 20 in some of the bigger cases, they're keeping these loans open, and the bank's getting some ridiculous money from that interest on those longer term loans. So that's one of the things that I was explaining to him is, the 1 or 2 people out of 100 people that pay the loan off early and the bank doesn't get a big pile of money on that deal, trust me, they'll be okay. They made it back, 5, 10, 20, 30 times over on the customers that aren't doing that. So that's one of the big things I try to explain to people is that is use your money wisely. You find that the people that, the smart buyers, the people that have kind of done this stuff before, they understand that there is that money there. And just by talking to them, they understand that money's there and they're going to get a little piece of that. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things when it comes to financing your camper versus paying cash. You want to make sure that the dealer's upfront and honest with you when you go in. Make sure that you let them know. I've never been a big gotcha person or like that or anything like that. Whenever I go in to buy something, I kind of explain to them what I plan on doing, explain to them that I know the process. And oftentimes when you go in and they know that they're dealing with more of a smart, savvy buyer that understands that these things are happening, they're going to have less resistance with you. But again, and we said this in other webinars, we've talked about this, but please make sure you're getting everything in writing. Make sure everything is up front. Make sure you understand it. Ask the bank too, or ask the dealer too. If I finance through you, are there any prepayment penalties? Okay. I know Caden, they get some customers from time to time that will ask us that, and we go through and explain to them. Are there a few? Yes, they're generally pretty small, but there are some banks out there that they have these very, very large prepayment penalties, especially, if it's, 2, 3, 4 years down the road. So that's one thing to make sure that you ask when you go in. Is there any prepayment penalties? Are there anything that I need to know about when it comes to that? And then make sure you read the financing documents. When you deal with bigger banks, like say a Bank of America, Huntington, a U.S. Bank, these national banks, generally you don't have to worry about stuff like that. They're all pretty well the same. I always tell everybody, if it's a bank that you've never heard of, make sure that you ask them about that. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. So that's one of the biggest things that we tell people when it comes to dealing with any other dealership. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. Make sure you understand what the fees are, all those things. But ultimately, if you go into it and you're an educated buyer, it's always better to finance your camper than it is to pay cash, as long as you know how to play the game. I know Caden's probably one of our better guys at explaining that to a customer. He cares about his customers. He really does. And you can tell that when he explains this to them, because he understands it truly and he goes to explain it to them. And you can feel that come through in what he's saying. So that's really what we want you guys to understand. Caden, you have anything else you want to add to any of that there?
I don't really have anything else, but exactly what Dallas said. We do care about you here. So any other questions you have on this, give us a call. We'll explain it to you, and even just have a conversation with you. That's what we do here. We care about you, and we want to make sure you're educated when buying your next RV. So
absolutely. Well, thank you guys very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Again, if you guys got any questions, shoot us a call, shoot us an email. We can get you over to one of the sales reps like Caden. He's very educated on the campers. We can talk to you a lot about that. Any finance questions after the fact, shoot me a call. Just call up to the dealership. It's 877-877-4494. My personal extension is 316. If you need, just ask for Caden. Caden will get you taken care of. As far as the sales side, I can take care of you on the finance